Alright, what's going on guys, it's the Boxing Genius here, and today we are going to talk about Bazooka Limon, a Mexican southpaw. And I'm going to be talking about this because recently I made a video on the Cuban southpaw style. And the Mexican southpaw style is very different, okay? It's actually the exact opposite. And so I was trying to look for a couple of fighters who can demonstrate that, and Bazooka Limon was the perfect one. So let's get right into it. Now, as opposed to, a lot of southpaws out there who abandon the jab whenever they're fighting their orthodox opponent, what we see with Bazooka Limon is he has mastered the art of constantly throwing the jab while circling to the left to find the right spot for the left hand. So as you can see here, he throws the jab to the side of the face, as opposed to going with the lead left hand, which is what a lot of southpaws do. Again, nothing wrong with that, but it becomes predictable after a while, and so you really need to use the jab as well. And that's what Bazooka Limon is good at doing here. After he throws that first jab, okay, he takes it lead foot. He takes his lead foot outside of the lead foot of his opponent, and then he slowly creates an angle for himself, and then there, again, constantly throwing the jab to the side of the face, and then by doing that, he is slowly stepping outside the lead foot of his opponent, very reminiscent of Pernell Whitaker. In fact, I think Bazooka Limon fought way before Pernell Whitaker, so who knows, maybe Whitaker watched some Bazooka Limon. Alright, here it is again, as opposed to just using the left hand here. He's going to create an angle for himself. He's going to throw some jabs while circling or while moving to the right side. Boom, boom, finding the right spot to land this left hand. And then from there, he backed up and then he decided to reset again, constantly throwing that jab, doubling up on it, tripling up on it. Kind of a lost art among southpaws. A lot of southpaws are over-reliant on their left hand. They abandon the jab, and if you're thinking that the jab is not really that effective in southpaw versus orthodox matchups, go ahead and watch Bazooka Limon. He will prove you wrong, okay? Bazooka Limon is really good at consistently throwing that triple jab, double jab, and, even 5 jabs in a row sometimes. Next thing we're going to talk about now is the wide shots, okay? As opposed to the Cuban punch, or the Cuban style of punching, which is short and tight, what the Mexicans are sort of known for this kind of punching, where they throw it wide. And the reason why is because they want to deceive their opponent into thinking that it's a certain punch. Okay, so if you look at Canelo, the reason why he throws the hook very wide is because his opponent kind of thinks that it's going to the body when in fact he's going to go for the head. The best demonstration of this fight was his fight against Gennady Golovkin. Okay. And so what I mean by wide shots, basically pulling it all the way back. So as you can see here, when Limon decided to throw his uppercut, it was super wide. Boom. He pulled it all the way back. Same thing for the second uppercut, pulled it all the way back. And it's very wide. And the reason why is because the wider your punch is, the harder it is to really determine what it's going to be, okay? The further you pull it back, the harder it is to read what punch that's going to end up being, okay? So from that position right there, when he threw this, so let's just pause it at the right time here. As you can see, Bazooka Limon will throw this wide right hand. You don't know if it's going to be a right uppercut to the body, a right uppercut to the head, a left hook, because it can be a lot of things, okay? And this is why the smash punch was so effective for, what's the name of that guy? Razor Ruddock? I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing it right. But the smash punch was really effective because of that, okay? Because the trickery that he had and how wide that punch was, okay? Because the punch was so wide, his opponent doesn't really know if it's an uppercut or a hook. And that's the exact same thing we see from these Mexican fighters. Again, here, boom, very wide shots. You don't know if it's going to go to the head or to the body. You don't know if it's going to be a hook or an uppercut. And because of that, it's much harder to read or it's much harder to defend your shots. So, next thing we're going to talk about is the planted counters, okay? Again, as opposed to the Cuban southpaw, who uses their footwork and then counters you off of it, what Mexicans do is they just stay still. They just plant their feet and then they load up on their legs. So let me just show you an example here. Bazooka Limon will throw a couple of jabs, okay? Let's wait for the counter. And then here, instead of stepping back and then waiting for his opponent to overcommit, right? He's gonna wait for the right time, he's gonna plant his feet, and then he's gonna counter right away. There's no stepping back, there's no, he's not gonna try to use his footwork to create an angle. They just stay there, they keep their feet planted hard to the ground, and then they counter off of that. Let's see another one here, okay? As opposed to moving back way too much and then waiting for the right time to counter. They plant their feet, they set it right there. As you can see, his back foot is pretty planted hard to the ground. And then he uses that momentum from his back leg in order to throw that overhand left. And after that, his opponent goes down. Now, there are a couple of pros and cons to this. The biggest pro is that you have a lot of power, you have a lot of load up. The consequence of this is that you don't really have a lot of, or it's much harder to measure the distance if you just keep your feet planted. Okay, sometimes you may end up realizing that your opponent is actually too close for the counter. Sometimes you might realize that the opponent is actually just feinting you, and because you were planted so hard on the ground, it's much harder to recover after overcommitting on a shot. The next thing we're going to talk about is the block and counter. So besides catching you on the way in while planting their feet, Bazooka Limon is also, and just Mexican southpaws in general, are really good at blocking and then countering. Okay, so they don't just wait for you to come in, they wait for your punch to come, and then they block it and then they counter off of it, okay, on either side. So let's just look at a few examples here. Bazooka Limon will block a body shot here, I think, boom. And then right away, after blocking that shot, he doesn't really wait for his opponent to overcommit. He throws the shot right away, because if his opponent comes closer, he's not going to have any space to land this uppercut in. So he, right after blocking that body shot, he throws the right or the left uppercut right away. Boom. After blocking that shot, he throws the left uppercut right away. Let's look at another one here. Bazooka Limon will block another shot, okay? And then he's going to counter with, let's see what he counters with here. Let's see what he counters with, boom. And then there, after he blocked the right hook of his opponent, he counters with the right hook. Now, the next thing we're going to talk about is his head movement on the inside, okay? On the inside, a lot of fighters tend to stay stationary. Why is that? Because they're mostly relying on their smothering skills. They don't really move their head because they are super close with their opponent. They tend to use their opponent's body as a shield. But what Bazooka Limon is really good at doing is moving his head on the inside, which is something that is not as easy as it sounds like. So let's just look at a couple of ones here. So as you can see, okay, he's gonna start with the hooks, and then as you can see, while he was punching on the right side, he always keeps his head away from the center. So the counter shots of his opponent, I forgot the name of his opponent, I'm sorry guys. Okay, so after he throws that right hook, his head is on the left, he's gonna duck down, he throws the right uppercut again, now his head is over on the right side. And for the duration, or for the entirety of this combo, his head is gonna be static on the right, and that avoids all the counter shots of his opponent. So let's see this one, boom. All of those counter shots are missing because his head is constantly on the right side. He keeps it away from the firing line, and over there, his opponent just circles away because he couldn't counter Bazooka Limon with anything that he was trying to throw. Let's see this next one here. Okay, so again, on the inside, Bazooka Limon is leaning more on the right side here, avoiding the check hooks, avoiding the right hand, okay? And then there he got tapped with the left hook, but not a lot of power behind it. And then for every punch, he always moves his head. So whenever he throws the left hand, he moves over to the right side. Whenever he throws the right hook, he moves over to the left side. And that constant coordination and that constant harmony between his head movement and his punching is really what keeps him safe from all those counter shots on the inside, okay? You don't need to think about moving your head. When your head movement and your punches are in harmony with each other, the defense will take care of itself. So that's what Bazooka Limon is really good at doing. Now, if you guys can recall my Cuban southpaw breakdown, I talked about how Cubans do not get out of their southpaw stance. This is going to be the exact opposite for the Mexican. The Mexican always switch from southpaw to orthodox to a squared up stance, and the reason why is because they are always looking for the right angles, they are always looking to cut off the ring, and that's what we see with Bazooka Limon as well, even as a southpaw. So let's just look at a couple of footage. Okay, so here, as you can see, as he comes in, okay, he squares up, he switches into a southpaw stance, and instead of staying in his original stance, as he comes in here, he's gonna switch into a southpaw, he's gonna switch into an orthodox stance. He's actually a southpaw. And he's not afraid to really square up and to make himself a more vulnerable target to his opponent, with the intention of cutting off the ring and with the intention of making his opponent really, with the intention of giving his opponent difficulties of moving around, okay? So the more squared up you are, the more space you eat up, the more space you consume. And so the more space you consume, the less movement your opponent can do or can use. And so it's much easier to cut off the ring that way. Okay, let's look at another clip here of the shift. So as you can see here, as Limon throws the left, instead of staying in his stance and going back to a safer position, which is what the Cubans advocate, okay, he's gonna square up and then he's gonna go closer to his opponent now, initiating a smother, okay, and then pushing his opponent back to the ropes even further. Now he goes back into his southpaw stance, and notice how much easier it is to push back your opponent just by squaring up. That's what the Mexicans are about. That's what the Mexicans advocate. And they always initiate smothering by squaring up and by switching into an orthodox stance, especially Bazooka Limon for this particular film study. Guys, that was it for this video. That's the Mexican southpaw style. Obviously, there are a lot more to unfold, but I don't want to give everything away for this video just yet. I'm still discovering a lot of things, and yeah, that's it for this video, man. Bazooka Limon is a super underrated Mexican southpaw. I discovered him a long time ago together with Canizales and a lot of other guys. And so, if you look at him, he's very much like Errol Spence. You know, he's very much like Errol Spence with more volume, with more speed, and with more ferociousness, okay? And so if you want to look at, or if you want to study someone who fights like Spence, but it's a little more exciting, I think Bazooka Limon is the perfect fighter. Great jab, you know, great body shots, great pressure, great ability to cut off the ring, great footwork as well. So that's it for this video, man. Bazooka Limon is a really good fighter. He was, to me, he was a much more exciting version of Errol Spence. So if you want to study that style, definitely watch a lot of Bazooka Limon. Join my Patreon if you want to, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you guys soon, man. Peace out.